Here's the story as it was told. A viral video depicts a white woman on a Citi bike. Citi bikes are those publicly available bikes. You walk over, you scan the thing, the bike pops out, you go ride it. A small group of young black men are surrounding her, saying that it's their bike, in fact, and she can't have it, and she's trying to take it from them. The video goes viral. It shows what the media described as a racist Karen trying to take the bike from these young men. She was suspended from her job at a hospital, branded racist, and the video was seen some 40 million times. What an amazing story. I'd like to walk you through this story because you've already read the headline of this video. You know exactly what happened. Evidence has emerged. In fact, the bike did belong to this woman, and the real story is as such. A woman, 6 months pregnant, a white woman, leaving her job, I believe she was leaving her job, gets on a Citi bike, pays for it. A group of young black men then try taking the bike from her. And instead of threatening her, they film her and call her racist and make her the bad guy. And it works. Wow. That's New York for you. Simply put, this woman scans the code, pays for the bike. They come up, push her back into the bike rack. They don't let her leave, then say, give us the bike, making her get off of it. She's crying. They're mocking her, calling her racist. And in numerous reports, they say she was putting these teens' lives in danger. You want to live in New York? Fine. Go ahead and do it. Amazing. We also have, after I follow up with this story, in the bigger context, Daniel Penny, whose fundraiser has now reached $2.5 million. And the New York Times wrote an article where they said activists now want every victim on that train arrested. I'm not exaggerating. Activists are demanding that the victims of Jordan Neely, who are just on the train, should be locked up. That's where we're going. Don't believe me? Let me show you this story. CBS News published May 16th. New York City hospital worker accused of trying to take bike from black teens in viral video. Bellevue Hospital now investigating. Oh, man. Here's a story from NBC New York. Bellevue worker in disturbing Citi bike video on leave pending review. I want to play for you how the news media covered this before showing you the latest evidence. Here you go.
Is facing some criticism tonight over a confrontation that was caught on cell phone camera. At the center of the back and forth between that woman and a group of apparent teens was a Citi bike.
News 4's Checky Beckford walks us through the now viral dispute that some say could have put those young men in danger.
Well, the video initially posted on Twitter on Saturday has nearly 37 million views, with commenters blasting that hospital worker for potentially putting the safety of those young men at risk. Help! The roughly 2-minute video starts with a white woman wearing hospital scrubs straddling a Citi bike, screaming for help, even though she doesn't appear to be in danger. Please help me! This is not your bike, repeats the young black man standing next to her, who says he just rented that Citi bike. His friends standing around him.
This is my bike, it's on my account.
Please get off! While the video doesn't show the young man touching her, it does show her remove her hospital badge, then grab the young man's phone.
Why you took his phone?
The woman then tells him he's hurting her fetus.
I'm not touching you.
When a man, also in scrubs, inquires what's wrong, the woman all of a sudden appears to begin sobbing. When the man tells the woman to choose another bike, she calmly removes herself. Another young man recording the video can be heard saying,
How you stop crying? Not a tear came down, miss.
We do not know what happened before the recording began at this Citi bike stand near East 30th and 1st Avenue, but many are blasting the hospital worker, a physician's assistant who NYC Health and Hospitals Bellevue say appears to work for them. The City Hospital Group saying they are sorry this happened and are reviewing the incident. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump tweeting, "This is unacceptable," and she grossly tried to weaponize her tears to paint this man as a threat. This is exactly the type of behavior that has endangered so many black men in the past. No one answered at the woman's Brooklyn apartment or returned our calls for comment. This woman lives in her building.
That woman lives in this building with me?
Another neighbor who knows the woman in the video told us off camera he believes the incident is being blown out of proportion. But this neighbor says the young men could have ended up in jail or worse.
It's clearly like a Karen, a Central Park Karen.
She's referring to the Central Park incident where a woman walking her...
Yes, you've made it this far. Now, I don't want to say we have definitive answers and proof of anything, but the latest story is quite revealing. NYC hospital Karen paid for city bike at center of viral fight with black man, New York Post. That's right. The lawyer has the receipt. She has a receipt. She paid for the bike. So apparently, as the story now develops, and I reserve the right to say, we don't know for sure definitively anything. And I don't necessarily want to accuse these guys of anything, but I want to say as the story develops where it currently stands, it is not the case of a racist white woman who tried to steal a bike, as Ben Crump said, from some young black men. But in fact, the evidence now points to the other way around. Young black men tried taking the bike from the woman. Why? It appears she is on a different kind of bike. I don't know exactly why. Maybe these young black men walked up to a bike rack, saw these available bikes. The guy said, I want the good one, shoved her and tried to take it. Because the story from the New York Post is this. A lawyer for a Manhattan hospital worker accused of taking a city bike from a young black man provided receipts that he says show she was the one who purchased the ride at the center of the viral incident. The Bellevue hospital employee who was branded a Karen on social media afterwards rented the bike first. Lawyer Justin Marino said in a statement to the Post Wednesday. He also provided two city bike receipts from May 12th, which were time-stamped just minutes apart. The first receipt reviewed by the Post shows the bike being taken out before it was relocked 1 minute later, which Marino says is the bike seen in the video. In the video, she's on, you can see this bike, it's white, I guess, and it's got different kind of handlebars or something. Maybe that was a different bike. I don't know exactly. I'd have to look into what kind of bikes they are, but I'm going to turn the audio off. I'm going to play the video because it looks like the bike she's on might be, it looks different from the other one. It may just be the color. I don't know. It's got a light on the front. The bike she eventually goes to seems to be somewhat different. Not entirely sure that it matters. It may simply be that they were just harassing her. They were trying to harass her because they thought it was funny and take the bike from her. I'll tell you what I think. I have, you ever ride those scooters? A common thing that happens in these big cities with these scooters, they have like the Lyft scooter and the Bird scooter and the Lime scooters, is that you will scan it and then someone will come up to you and take it from you and then start riding it because you've unlocked it for them. You pay for it and then they get to use it. Sure, you can disable it, but it needs to take a picture. So what do? Report it stolen? It's common. I think maybe they were trying to take her bike from her so that she would be the one who paid for it. The evidence now shows she was the victim. A pregnant woman trying to ride a bike was attacked by a group of young black teens, and they made her the perpetrator, and they got her suspended. Welcome to the modern era, my friend, where you, the victim, will be punished. They say the second receipt shows another bike being taken out a minute later from the same docking station. And that was the bike Marino said his client used to get home after being heckled and pressured to find a new bike. The hospital employee, who Marino says is a 6 months pregnant physician's assistant, was placed on leave by NYC Health and Hospitals this week after her heated encounter with the men emerged online Saturday and has been viewed tens of millions of times. What's she supposed to do? You know, I got to tell you, you think she voted Republican? Of course she didn't. She may not have voted at all. I don't know. But these are the people who made this system. Now, in the instance of Daniel Penny, this is what I said at first. I'm like, I'm tired of funding the people who choose to live here. But fair point. We should win the fight on self-defense at the very least. And this guy should not be going to prison. They're now ramping up calls in New York. They want the victims on that train who had nothing to do with anything arrested and charged. That's what the protests are demanding now, because these people on the left, these protesters, are not satisfied at stopping. It's not about Daniel Penny. It's about gutting and ripping apart the system. And they're doing it. Congratulations. And you know what? I am willing to bet this woman, I'm willing to bet she voted for it. So I wonder. I will say this, however. You know what? We should not abandon these people. We should convert them. My own advice. And I think it's a fair point. I was saying before, like, I'm not going to donate. And then I did. And now I'm thinking this. Let us use these moments to speak to this young woman. She's pregnant. She works in a hospital. She's trying to ride a bike home. Ma'am, please, for the love that is all that is holy, do not vote for these people. You got to vote for something different at the very least. Stop voting for these people. Tell your friends. I hope this can actually start changing things. I hope that the pressure from the left, which is so intense, wakes people up. Marino called the caught on tape interaction incomplete. He said after the healthcare worker wrapped up her 12-hour shift, she got an available bike, which no individuals were on or touching, paid for it through the app. As she backed it up, a group of 5 people approached her and claimed the bike was theirs. One or more individual in that group physically pushed her bike with her on it back into the docking station, locking it. One of the individuals then covered the bike's QR code, stopping her from paying for it again so she could leave. You know what the evidence is to suggest that this is all true? She's literally sitting on the bike and this guy is not. How is it his bike? He ain't even on it. So what's the implication? That he walked up, scanned it, then she ran and jumped on the bike right as he was standing there and he went, oh, heavens me. How did you jump on this bike? Her story makes more sense and she has the receipts. She was sitting on the bike. He walks up, covers the code, pushes her back in. Amazing. I love it. I love it. In blocking the QR code, he touched my client's pregnant stomach. The fact that anyone would treat another person this way, the roughly 90-second clip that begins mid-confrontation shows the woman dressed in hospital-branded clothes screaming, help me. Yeah, no one's going to. No one's going to help you. This is the world of modern feminism, ladies and gentlemen. It's what we can expect. You're hurting my fetus. You know, I got to be honest. Did she act perfectly? No, but what's she supposed to do? What is she going to do? A bunch of guys surround her and say, the bike's ours now. Halfway through the clip, the hospital worker appears to start crying. The young man again claimed to the woman the bike was on his account and asked her to move before she rented another bike. She's got the receipts. I love it. Social media users called the interaction racist. They called her a Karen. Now, here's the crazy part. That video I showed you early on, a journalist then goes to her home and starts telling her neighbors. Talk about the Gulag Archipelago. Talk about the Soviet Union. The media goes to her home and says to her neighbors, that's her. You ever see her? And they're like, whoa. Don't you dare defend yourself from crime. Because we in New York know how to deal with people like you. That's what's currently happening. I absolutely love it. Take a look at this from the New York Times. They watched Jordan Neely die. Did they have a duty to intervene? Heavens me, did they? I got news for you, the New York Times. They did intervene. They helped Daniel Penny. I'm sure by most of you know the story. Jordan Neely threatened the lives of, literally issued death threats on a train. 3 passengers subdued him. Jordan Neely was then placed in the recovery position by Daniel Penny, these other men. And a half an hour later, he died. I believe they transported him to the hospital. He was still alive, but he ended up dying. It's a tragic story. I wish he didn't die. But he was threatening others. He was committing a crime. And it was so egregious that 3 people on that train said, we must stop this man. You ready for this? In the New York Times article, they mention that only one person was blamed, but, quote, some New York activists believe the passengers share some culpability. During a wave of heated protests near and inside the Broadway Lafayette Street subway station where the F train was sitting, they say some demonstrators focused on those who merely watched. Arrest everyone that was on that train, read one sign. Love and protect your fellow man. Don't move here if you're scared of your neighbors, read another, which added, if you watch someone choke and attack, kill another, you are complicit. You are responsible. It's incredible. You know where we're going. In New York, these young men knew that if they act like the victims, they win. I want to tell you something. I'm going to let you guys in on an old secret technique. Grifting. You know what real grifting is? Grifting is con artist stuff. Grifting actually means like you're on the street and you say something like, oh, my car broke down. It's down the road. I need gas money. That's grifting. The left argues that, commentators are all grifters. I love how the left, these guys, they're like, well, everyone's grifting. So, and I'm like, no, they're not. It's just you and you're projecting. But I digress. I would like to tell you about an old school grift. It's called the reverse pickpocket. What you do is you take a wallet with like an ID in it. This is what the criminals would do. They would take a wallet with their ID and some other garbage in it, maybe some loose cash. They would then wait for the victim to use an ATM. They would wait until they caught a victim who left a receipt behind, or they could see how much money was taken. They then reverse pickpocket the individual. That means if they have a bag or they have pockets or a coat, you put your wallet in their bag. Get this. They then call the police and say, that's the guy who robbed me. That's the guy who mugged me. And what happens? The police go up to the individual. They say, look in his pocket. He's got my wallet. They pull out the wallet and lo, there is your ID. Why, that is your wallet. And then you say, there's $200 inside. But they open it up and there's no cash. Where's the money? Where's the money? The person, the victim, confused, now has evidence on their person of having committed a pickpocket or robbery. And then when the cop says, take out your wallet, empty your pockets, I'm searching you, finds $200 in cash, they say, not only did this person have the wallet with the ID, they had the correct amount of money as described by the victim. Old school con artist trick to get the police to do the robbery for you. A bit complicated. Typically, they would just have someone come up to you and then shake you down and rob you. But when you don't want to go to jail, this is the kind of thing that people would do. Tricks like this. Reverse pickpocket doesn't need to be so complicated. You could just put the wallet in your pocket and then scream, that person robbed me. And then other people come to help and say, he's got my wallet. He's got my cash. And then you say, I don't know how much of cash I had. I lose cash, maybe like 20 or 40 bucks or something. And then the average person might have that. And people will pretty much rob the person for you. That's how they do it. Man, if people knew about the con games that go on in these cities. So here's where we are now. We're in an era where if you film someone, they're the bad guy. I saw a video where a woman was like watering her garden or something, and a guy said, you just called me a slur or whatever. But you never actually see it happen on the video. Doesn't matter. Left-wing activists were like, this proves it. So what happens now is people will pull out their phone and be like, why'd you just call me that? Why'd you just call me that? And they'll be like, I didn't call you anything. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And then they'll put the video online. And then everyone is, they just line up as per their political tribe. For me, I want evidence. So I didn't really care about the story. It's this viral video or whatever of a woman screaming, help me, help me. You live there. But now that the lawyer has provided the proof to the New York Post, she actually did buy the bike. That's something else, isn't it? So what could the alternative be? I'm here to entertain all possibilities. I'm not here to just assume these guys are criminals either. I think the evidence now points to her innocence and her being the victim. Maybe the guy walked up to the bike and she jumped on it. And then, honestly, no. I don't see any way possible their version is correct, the guy's. Because she's sitting on the bike. How could that have happened? How could it be that you scan the bike's QR code and pay for it, then the bike comes off the rack, goes back in the rack, she gets on top of it, scans it, buys it, gets off the rack, goes back in the rack, and then you claim it's yours? I think it's obvious. These guys were just trying to take her bike. My opinion is their attitude is probably, she scanned the bike, now I can take it, accuse her of being a racist, and ride the bike for free. The thing about these city bikes, I don't know if they lock the way scooters do. With the scooters, you can deactivate it remotely and be like, my ride is over. And then it'll be like, take a picture. I guess a lot of these people are hoping that you can't take a picture, you can't end it because the scooter's gone. That's what they do. I've seen that happen in Austin like a couple times. You'll scan the scooter and they'll run up and they'll just take it from you. And then you're like, you just stole my scooter. And then guess who's paying for it? Welcome to modern leftist policing. And the cops, you think they're going to help this woman? They're going to say, I don't have anything to do with this. Who cares? This is what's going to happen to you. They will rob you And then they will film you. And when you're screaming for help, they'll be like, oh, no. Like they will literally come to you and be like, give me your wallet. They'll film you and then accuse you of being the perpetrator. You will get fired if you fight back. Bravo, feminists and leftists and liberals. You did it to yourselves. Man. And that's for Daniel Penny, man. I hope this guy doesn't go to prison. I hope that my contribution, as well as many others, goes towards making sure he never sees a day in jail because he did the right thing. And you know what? Don't be surprised if they do start arresting the victims. I'm not kidding. Did you ever believe we would be in this place right now where innocent people are the ones being arrested? You probably didn't think so. You probably thought the system was just, didn't you? The activists demanded the arrest of Penny and they got it. Now they're demanding the arrest of the other victims. Now, you may say that's too unreasonable, and perhaps. But one step at a time, they will inch us towards that. And eventually, they'll win. Unless we push back and say no. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.